Mhm. Good. Oh, wait. See, this I never understand if like this Hangout airs live. Well, I guess that's enough. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Film Geek Primer number 34.
What, 34?
34. We've almost had a full year. We're coming up on a full year of stuff,
That's
or at least
considered
50.
a son of a bitch.
It's not bad, right? It's not bad.
Pretty rock.
Um, Tonight we are going to be discussing David Cronenberg's first official feature film, Shivers, being the Halloween season and all. We're going to get into Shivers, and we'll see how that goes for us. But first, of course, we've got Shu is with us this week, so Shu's going to give us some a little theme song music. So go for it. Oh, that was very melancholy.
Oh, I love that.
Very
I
melancholy.
love the improv in the middle. That was sweet.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. Yeah, it was it was melancholy for a lot of reasons, partially because I'm in a melancholy mood because I hate Warren right now.
Oh no! Why do you hate Warren right now? Because he's
So the
lounging?
Giants won.
Yes,
Oh, is that what
precisely.
happened?
Because his goddamn son of a bitch Giants are about to win their third World Series in 5 years,
Oh,
and it's
jinx it!
pissing Cardinal fan John Schuster off significantly.
Hmm.
Isn't
You
it
know
the
how
first
Pretty
long
exciting.
I grew up most of my childhood
Yeah,
going to Candlestick Park with 5,000 people, where you'd buy tickets up at the top, and then by the end you're sitting behind home plate because nobody was there.
It was windy. It was windy, and they gave out badges because it was so cold, and nobody wanted to stay. And I'm Warren, and I went to a bunch of these things, and I've got badges. Of course, in about 2009, like the rest of the other Giants fans, I completely disassociated and disowned myself with Barry Bonds because he pumped stuff in his arm like everybody else. But now I love them again. We New America.
For the record, I never disassociated myself with Barry Bonds. I think everybody was dirty, and just because he got caught doesn't mean anything. The whole system, but that's a whole other conversation.
No, it's this conversation.
Well, that's baseball geek primer. That's on
Yeah,
later.
exactly. Yeah.
That's on
Yeah,
in
that's
an hour.
BGP.
Oh.
I'm just going to do the follow-up show.
Good luck, Warren Graff. I think you're well on your way. You got a hell of a team.
I do that. I do baseball geek primer by myself. Go
Oh,
Giants!
man. Oh boy. I'll tell you, when Morse hit the home run in the bottom of the eighth, had there been a video on me at the time, it probably would have gone viral by now.
Well,
So you were
that's-
cheering like the rest of us?
No.
Nine with
Yeah,
idiots and
I was not
happiness?
cheering like this guy right here. This guy's all sad. See? Sad Cardinal. Sad
Oh.
Cardinal.
So you were cursing Mike Matheny for bringing in Waka there in the bottom?
That was,
Oh,
you know.
I'm sorry, I gotta ram this back in. We're done with that. Just in case you guys
No,
can chat about this offline.
If no one gets hit over the head with a chair, I don't give a shit.
Seriously.
Oh, you should have seen the game 3 then.
Oh,
Oh dear. Okay. Anyways, as you can tell with us, it's we got a full crew tonight. T, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Hi, guys. How you doing? It's been a while.
Yes, it has been. It has been. It's kind of nice to have everyone back in the stable. Shu, of course.
oh yeah, I'm just doing fantastic. Although
Yeah.
I did have a good weekend because Santos stopped by.
I did. Yes, I made an impromptu stop in Tucson this past weekend.
Yeah, that was very nice of you.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's every 13 or 14 years, if I don't sleep on your couch, something goes wrong with me. It just messes with my system.
Meets about every 3 months.
Yeah. That's and this is what happens to Tremendo when he sleeps on Shu's couch. He wears a mask everywhere out of shame. Of course, we got
That's not a
Warren.
mask, that's lines from the cushions.
Cushions, yeah, exactly, yeah. It's just really bad blood flow. And of
Warren,
course,
what are you visiting?
the lounge himself, Warren, sir, how are you doing?
Just to like the bed.
Awesome. Go Giants. We already covered that.
Go Giants.
Go Giants.
Yeah, we got it. Okay, next week we'll watch Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck, and everybody can go apeshit nuts about whatever else is going on. Or
Fred
what's the one?
Shafisi.
Actually, we can't. What's the one with Matt LeBlanc and the monkey? Was that Ed? Was that what that one was called? With the baseball pitching monkey?
Yeah, I didn't see
Yeah.
that.
Okay. And there's some
Because it had
Japanese
Matt
one.
LeBlanc and a
Fast
monkey.
Monkey. Eddie
What's the one
Fast
called?
Monkey. Eddie the Fast Monkey. I have no idea. Eddie, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's the Japanese one also, where it's kind of like it feels like it's a cross between Mr. Baseball and King Kong because it's like a little girl with her baseball throwing ape, but it goes berserk and they try to hunt it down, and it's I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cute. I like that one.
Was it? I never saw it. I can't remember what the title was, but it was something like Mr. Fabulous or something funky like that. It was like
I saw it in a double feature with Shell and Soccer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be a fun
I
night.
saw it. It was pretty cool.
I like Shaolin Soccer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was funny. I saw a clip for Shaolin Soccer the other day, and I was like, "Shit, I need to revisit that one because I've watched it probably like when we first discovered like the import DVD of it, and my roommate brought in the import DVD. I probably watched it like 4 or 5 times in about a 2-week period because I had such a blast with that sucker, and then I've just not gone back to it since, which is a shame. So go Stephen Chow.
Another one we need to
tonight-
revisit is Battlefield Baseball, which is baseball with zombies.
Which I've never seen. Yeah. We'll have to do
I
we'll
have
have
to
to do an
see that.
off-kilter baseball. Yeah, we'll do an off-kilter baseball month or something like that, or week, and we can each bring a baseball movie that we're forced to watch to the forefront. So this week we watched David Cronenberg's Shivers, aka They Came From Within, and it is Cronenberg's first. I believe he did. I think Stereo was a feature film. Or feature film length, but I don't know if it ever got distribution or not. But this is his first official movie that is released theatrically, produced by Ivan Reitman, which is always exciting.
Wow.
Ivan Reitman produced a bunch of
Is he Canadian?
horror stuff and things.
Is Reitman
What's that?
Canadian?
Yeah,
Is
he's
Reitman Canadian?
Oh yeah, very Canadian.
Okay.
He also did the music. He had a music credit, like
Oh, did he really?
music design or something like that. Or
Oh,
probably
interesting.
just
And he also
stuff out.
he produced. He was one of the producers on Heavy Metal, which was a Canadian production. Yeah, and he produced a bunch of. I don't. It's funny. I don't know enough about Canadian cinema to be able to say that was kind of like the Canadian New Wave or the big burst of Canadian cinema kind of happened around that time in the 70s. I'm not
Horror
sure.
and exploitation. The 70s are big for Canadian horror. Bob Clark was one of the big names in the 70s for Canadian horror.
I'm sorry.
Bob Clark, the guy from Porky's.
Okay.
And he did a film called Death Dream, which we should.
Yes, the late great Bob Clark, who also gave us. Didn't he also give us Revenge of the Nerds? I know he gave us Black Christmas.
Porky's.
Porky's, my
I
bad.
don't remember who did Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, nobody great. Okay, so yeah, it stars. Now, Shu and I watched this movie together, and we had a grand old time with it. The movie has. Dub once referred to the original film Mad Max as a student film. Probably pushes a little bit more towards that definition, if that's really kind of how you want to look at it, because it has some very rough around the edges concepts and ideas that he would smooth out over time. Some of the fine names in this movie. And there's only one that's truly recognizable, which is Barbara Steele, who was in Black Sunday and many other horror films at the time. But I think, is it Paul Hampton that plays our main guy? I believe it's Paul Hampton who plays Sideburns. Roger St. Luke. So the concept of Shivers. Sorry. So let me explain the concept of Shivers here really quick for everybody. So the apartment complex is outside of Montreal. Is that where it was? Like 20 miles outside of Montreal on like its own island or something like that.
12 miles outside of Montreal.
12 miles.
Yes.
Which is apparently the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh well, what do you expect? It's Canada. They got nothing. They live in mud huts up there, so this place was a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's right, just igloos. Sorry, that's right, they're north. And it's got all the latest amenities, including a full-blown doctor's office, dentistry, a lovely clothing boutique that everything was on sale for $3.95 according to the cardboard signs, or maybe it was $5. And because they're so out in, and then the Mr. and Mrs. Swede, the Sweden, Mr. and Mrs. Sweden, I believe, is our intro into this apartment complex as they are shown around and kind of given the tour, juxtaposed between a woman, a young girl in a schoolgirl's outfit being murdered by a crazed, pervy-looking doctor with his beard and glasses. And things kind of go
with his glasses or his beard, but
no. He happened to have those accoutrements, but he did not use. Neither of those were used in the death of said girl.
For the record, I thought it was a boy at first. I thought it was like I didn't notice a dress. I thought it was just a boy in shorts. Like it didn't look like a girl to me. So it was kind of weird. Up until like there was a part where as he's choking her, like her skirt rises up, and I was like, oh, it's a skirt. And then it was like, you know, she's wearing panties. Like, wait, that's kind of like the body of an older. Like I thought it was like a little kid.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell, David Cronenberg?
Right.
So anyway, go on.
And then you discovered he had breasts, and that got really
exactly. I was like, that is one sexy child.
So basically, somehow some experiments were being done. There's a slug-like creature there are multiple slug-like creatures now running amok, and when they infest you, your sexual libido is basically cut loose, and you no longer have any kind of sense of morality / control, and everybody goes nuts and tries to rape or sleep or do naughty things to each other. Warren, you want us to start us off on this one, Warren? What were your feelings about this?
It was very Cronenberg. You know, like if I didn't know it was David Cronenberg, I would say, you know, this is really David Cronenberg. When I was in college, I took a film class, and the two directors we studied during that class one was Peter Weir, and the other one was David Cronenberg.
Wow, that's like weird polar opposites.
Well, that was kind of the point. Like, but what they both do is they do a lot of things with the camera and lighting, and you know, it's all visual. Like they're really strong.
Storytellers
in that sense. So, you know, this movie had a lot of those like long shots of people doing sort of mundane things. It was very sexual and violent at the same time.
Right.
It didn't have any of the stuff that he like kind of moved on to, which was sort of like a combination of like, you know, man and machine type of thing. It's, you know, a lot of his movies kind of have that theme. But I think what you said earlier was sort of how I felt. Like I was watching going, this is like a student film. This is clearly somebody experimenting with making a movie. You know, and I thought he did a pretty good job. He obviously gets better. But there was a lot of times in that movie I was kind of bored.
Yeah.
I felt a lot of the horror and the tension just, you know, it could have been because of the movie. It was sort of dated to me, but a lot of it just wasn't scary or intense. Some of it was very disturbing. Stuff with like anything that had to do. There was a lot of stuff with kids and which was kind of upsetting, and the way people were kind of going after each other and kind of going crazy. Like that was kind of weird. But you know, everything with the worm was really kind of took me out of it. Like okay, you touch a worm and it's like acid, but you can swallow it and it gets inside you fine. Like it doesn't burn your throat. You know, and it sort of ran the gambit of every turn from rapey and mindless to I want to make love and kiss me. Like, so it was kind of a weird. It felt like it was inconsistent in that way, and you know, I liked the bleakness of it. I liked it was sort of what's it called, Invasion of the Body Snatchers-esque.
Right.
It was, and before Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean, this was like 3 years before Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So, you know, it wasn't okay, I guess I can say. There's, you know, better David Cronenberg movies out there that are scarier, a little bit more upsetting, but this one wasn't so bad. I was just, you know, bored at times. I don't think it's his best work.
Yeah, no, it is. It's I would say it's definitely far from his best work. But again, I think what you do see in this thing are literally all of what he would be doing for the next 15, 20 years of his. odd second wave starting around the era of Spider and then moving into History of Violence and stuff like that, where we now have him doing things that are much more psychological versus body horror and biological. So let's actually we'll go to T next. T, what impressions of the film? How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Warren. It's a good introduction to Cronenberg, his basic themes of deviancy and paranoia, and fatalist eroticism, or the eroticism of death. And it's pretty much lays out what's on his mind thematically and what he's obsessed with. So it's almost like it's a primer for film geeks for David Cronenberg. So it's kind of like this is what you're going to expect the next 20 years. Have films that kind of weave in and out of these kind of subject matters. So yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. I was bored at times. It was pretty slow, but maybe it had to do with budget stuff, just to pad out the film. I thought that some of the acting was a little amateurish. The main doctor guy didn't seem to react at the right times.
Yeah, that's actually that
like he's being chased by these sex zombies, and he's kind of like, oh yeah, better get out of here, and nonchalantly back away. But yeah, I think the feeling of dread and the feeling of just the dirty feeling, the kid stuff and the rapey stuff was really unsettling. It's kind of like finding one of those really old 70s Swedish erotica dirty magazines when all you've been exposed to are Playboys. You jump from Playboy and then the whole pretty girl and boobies and stuff, and then all of a sudden you get this like really gross, dirty old man.
You know that movie.
Bondage.
You know that moment that's happened to all of us.
We've all stumbled across it.
So yeah, it's a kind of a movie you gotta take a little shower after watching, but I think it's pretty solid. I think it's more technically adept than when I first saw it a few years ago. It's got towards the end it's got a better flow and editing style. It's a little smoother, but it's still a little amateurish at points.
Yeah. I would go with you on the amateur points. I think especially in the plot structure. I think and dead on about the sideburns. The doctor with the bleached hair and the different colored sideburns. Paul Hampton, I believe his name is. I'm thinking that's Roger St. Luke. Always great names. Roger St. Luke, Nurse Forsyth, Lynn Lowry played Nurse Forsyth. So Shu, we watched this together. You were not that impressed with it.
I'll save I'll save the Burt Bacharach part for you.
No, you go right ahead.
No. That's your territory. We'll tease that a little bit on Film Geek Primer, and I'll leave you to get to the classic Paul Hampton as Burt Bacharach style of acting.
Okay.
I think generally speaking, it's a Cronenberg completionist film. If you are really in and must see everything that he's ever done because you like the History of Violence or you like Videodrome or something like that, and you're in, and I must watch everything David Cronenberg, then sure, give it a go. You'll kill an hour and a half, whatever it is, fine. Beyond that, I think there are many other Cronenberg movies that cover a lot of these topics that do it in a much more professional manner. That doesn't mean that, I don't mean to sound... It's a first film. You're trying to figure it out. Your budget's really low. You're understanding the process as you go around. Everything about it is excusable. But as he hones his craft and gets a little bit more money along the way, I think those things come into play, and he does a better job with many of them as his career moves along. That said, the last 15 minutes I kind of enjoyed. Or appreciated. Maybe appreciated's the better word. Because
saying you enjoyed it might get you in trouble.
That's a fair point. The last time we looked, I was in the USA, and that could be an issue. Although last week I wasn't, so who the heck knows where we all are. Anyway, the fact that it devolved into sort of like what Warren touched on with this Invasion of the Body Snatchers thing. But it was taboo Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And it touched on in brief, uncomfortable moments, the reality out there that people have different fetishes. And many of those fetishes are closed door when it comes to sex.
Right.
But as a result of this, it's all kind of an even playing field. The sensual, married, consensual kind of vanilla stuff is sort of the same as the rape, which is sort of the same as the weird kid stuff, which is sort of the same as the multiple partner thing, which is sort of the same as, you know, you get the drift. That FetLife.com is out there for a reason. There are people who enjoy, you know, different stuff, and that's what works for them. And I thought it was interesting that it approached all of that within this one structure. It's all filmed in what's allegedly some sort of high-rise apartment building that's kind of, you know, a resort for lucky folks who are allowed to live 12 miles out of Montreal. But it's all the same. Once it degrades into the parasite has basically taken control of the whole complex, there really isn't any difference between any of what our morality perceives as weird sexual kinks. And I think that's ultimately what he was trying to get across, and in that regard, I think he kind of succeeded. And
yes,
while it's uncomfortable, I think it's supposed to be uncomfortable, and at the very least, I kind of appreciated the effort. Getting there is difficult. It's dull, it's mundane, it's as you guys have noted, it's got a lot of time fill. You know, sure, the acting is, you know, really rough, but the payoff is pretty good. So it's almost like if you wanted to watch this in a streaming capacity and just you know, watch the first 10 or 15 minutes to get used to it, and then cut out that middle hour and watch the last 15 minutes, you could kind of do this in a Cliff Notes fashion and maybe get the gist out of it of what Cronenberg was going for. But generally speaking, again, it's a completionist film, and you know, Cronenberg touches on a lot of these issues in later films, and I think, as should be expected, does it better as he hones his craft along the way.
Well said.
Yeah, I think a lot of the slow stuff. Yeah, the slow, it gets slow because I believe what I started noting when we were watching it was its structure doesn't work very well, which is it's this progression of watching. The theory is that you're supposed to be watching this progression of the entire apartment complex kind of being infected, but all you have are a couple. You never see people getting infected other than like a couple, right? So all of a sudden it'll just be cut to some other dude who's now infected running down the hall, but you don't know how he got infected. It's like the one case that actually worked was the waiter. The waiter who I would not have ever bring me food because he's the creepiest looking waiter on the planet. And this movie is full of and I'm not exactly one to talk, but it's full of weird looking people.
It is a creepy looking movie of just the people.
It is a creepy looking movie, and it's like and it's full of a bunch of creepy looking people, but what you never see is the progression of it's not like Contagion or something where you get to actually follow the disease progress and how it takes over the place. This is just suddenly elevator door opens, now more people are infected, and you have no clue how that took place.
Well, I mean, they made those key scenes where like the things got out, and you see, oh, it's out, and it's out now.
It's out, it's out, but you don't see, but you don't really see infestation. And they show you got the best one, of course, is being when Barbara Steele is in the bathtub, and she gets her whole little that's unnerving, and it's full of unnerving moments like that. But it's never about. But there's no fluid movement within watching the infestation grow. It's just all of a sudden. Cut to the next bit. Okay, more people that we've never met before are now infected and running around. So it was that kind of choppy thing that really kind of keeps pulling you out and throwing you around, and that's what really I think it makes the film bog down a little bit. The other thing being the acting of some of our leads, which and I was discussing this with Shu, and I was trying to figure out what you meant by Brecht, but I think you meant Bertolt Brecht, right? Is that what you're referencing?
No. Take a look at the lead. The lead guy to me looks like Burt Bacharach to me.
Oh, that's right. The lead guy looked like. Yeah. He's a sexy man, is what he is, with his bleached hair, and and apparently so skilled that the only job that he can really get is at a apartment complex. What happened? So, Scanners recently came out on Criterion, and I picked that up and rewatched it. And Scanners, I think, is a really good movie, I think that kind of solidifies what Cronenberg is going for a lot of the time. But it has a lead performance by Stephen Lack, who is an artist, I believe, Canadian artist, and it's not a very good. The performance fits his name. It lacks. And Paul Hampton, who we discover is our lead, is kind of a scumbag, which I thought was interesting. But he's also a really banal and bland scumbag, and things are happening around him that are completely unexplainable, and he's just stone-faced the entire time. And I was trying to decide if this was like a Cronenberg choice during this era, because if it was he trying to create leads that you're supposed to be able to put ourselves up to, but it just kind of becomes laughable because nothing about them is charming or makes us want to hang around this person. And he's kind of a weird loser too, because he's got the nurse who's legitimately into him, but he's just not paying attention at all, even though she's undressing right in front of him. And she looks like an elf. I thought she would have been great in Lord of the Rings.
He sees those two guys in the hallway. Those gay guys in the hallway, and I assume they're
right.
And then he goes behind that door, but he doesn't lock it, and he peers through the peephole at them as if he's kind of like, should I go out there? They're asking me to go out there. Should I go out there? So maybe he's trying to. There's a little bit of a hint about his sexuality there.
I did not think of it that way, but you're right. Yeah. Highly possible. So that's okay. So,
he just closes the door and hopes they go away.
Right. So do you
think he changes his mind?
So could it be read as fear of admitting? So do you think his because at the end, spoiler alert, he's attacked in the swimming pool and it's all the women and stuff that are jumping on top of him and he's freaking out. Do you actually think it is a repressed homosexuality that he's just not willing to admit? That's kind of what his fear is about. Do you think that's what his deal is, Gabe?
I don't think he's fleshed out enough to really make that a definitive argument, because he's such a bland vanilla character with bland vanilla Burt Bacharach looks that there's I guess sure, but it's not anything you can say with definitive.
Right.
It could.
It read that way, but not no proof.
Come see Consol.
Just like him at the end, I could go either way.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, and I thought it was they did. Oh, right. No, they did introduce lesbianism into it. They introduced chubby chasing.
Thank God.
Homosexuality.
Incest.
Pedophilia. Incest. God, I'm trying to think what other. And there was the weird garage. I guess garage rape was going on.
Like a category?
The car accident. The car accident.
Oh yeah, the car, which is a great lead-in. The car accident's really good too.
Yeah. What was the movie that he did where people got in a car accident? Crash. Yeah.
But the car accidents, and apparently Canadian cars suck because they pancake that fucker too in the garage. It's a really
they run on maple syrup.
Yeah.
They run on maple syrup. They plug them into maple syrup.
And there was the maple. Wait, was there another movie? It was this one that has the. I watched so many movies over the past few days in a weird way. It did have the slow motion maple syrup dropping, right?
Oh no.
No? Or something else? No, never mind. It was an episode of Twin Peaks I was watching. My bad. I swear to God, it's an episode of Twin Peaks. They actually show like syrup dripping off a pancake very slowly.
God.
Yeah. Well, that's symbolism. So it's I agree with. I would agree with Shu to some extent that it's definitely a completionist movie. Though I think for anybody who wants to, filmmakers are not born fully formed. They evolve over time, and I think this is a great example of being able to look at something and say, yeah, this is, you can see a lot of what's going to happen with his career, but you're definitely not going to see, his best stuff yet. And that would happen, and it would develop over time with, The Brood and moving towards Videodrome and Scanners and stuff like that.
Which I haven't seen.
So yeah, any
Yeah, I'm very hopeful for the 40th anniversary Blu-ray that comes out next year, and I hope that we get some Paul Hampton commentary because that will be that will certainly be quite exciting. Every bit as exciting as the action of the film.
Actually, okay. I did not know this. You're going to appreciate this, Shu. Paul Hampton is an actor, singer, composer, lyricist, and writer. So he pretty much born in Oklahoma City. He's listed as one of the hundreds of major architects of American rock and roll, the British rock journal Foot Soldiers and Kings. He attended Dartmouth College, where his sophomore year he was simultaneously signed to Columbia Records and Columbia Pictures to write music with ... I will never discover anything else about that. Originally known as Paul Schwartz. Still kicking. Still kicking.
Beautiful. We could go to Oklahoma City and check him out. Maybe he's still performing.
Yeah, he's
in Branson.
Oh, yes.
I would totally buy that he was in Branson, actually. Yeah,
how many people walk up to Paul Hampton at a dive bar in Tulsa and say, "I loved you in that Cronenberg film"? Us.
All the time. All the time. This was his... Wow, he had actually been acting for quite a while.
Acting? Really? Acting?
Well, okay. Yeah, well, he'd been staring for quite a while. Looking nonplussed for quite a while.
So much range.
Yeah, so much range. Anyways, let me see here. Sorry, I thought I saw... I'm trying to see... I am literally... He was in Lady Sings the Blues. He was on a couple episodes of Ironside. Yeah.
Which episodes? Quick.
The good ones.
He was in an episode of McCloud. Basically, he's all over shoes. He's all over shoes.
I love that.
He played the Senator in Babylon 5: The Gathering, Waxworks 2, Lost in Time.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now Tremendo's in.
He's completely into it. Yeah, he's completely into it. Oh, he was in...
We're about to all be Paul, what's his name, Hampton? Paul Hampton. We're about to be Paul Hampton completionists.
Yeah, now, here's the worst part, is I may have... Oh, no, wait, did it have Dr. Roger St. Luke? Yeah, that must have been him, because I was trying to figure out who the other guy was that looks like... Stephen Lack and Jeff Goldblum had a baby, and he's the other actor in it that has all the things burst out of his stomach.
Oh, yeah.
He looks really familiar.
Yeah, he did. Well, it's because he looks like a cross between Stephen Lack and Jeff Goldblum, and he's got the little fro and everything else like that.
I mean, I know he doesn't look like David Hemmings, but when I first saw him, he looked like David Hemmings too.
There is some very David Hemmings going on.
That guy was a dick from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Like before he was possessed to after he was possessed. Like that guy was a big old dick. What a horrible person that guy was. Like, why was she even with him? Like it was such a weird. The acting was horrible, I guess.
That was just a bizarre relationship because it's like because we never see him nice at all.
Right, exactly.
We always cut to the wife like fretting over this relationship. It's like who gives a shit? Fuck him.
Yeah.
I mean,
man, kick-ass pot roast, man.
Leave that douchebag. I know. Let me just throw some dinner together. Here's a whole pot roast and.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. She took care of that guy, which was, and then even at work, the guy was a jerk to Barbara, the secretary, or whatever the fuck her name was.
All the guys were kind of dicks.
Yeah. Which could be saying something.
Well, I think it was. I think it was like saying like the sexual revolution was taking place in the 70s, and it was like. I mean, because if you think about it, everybody who was infected. They never killed anybody. They just wanted sex.
Right.
Like that's all it was. Like the only people that murdered people were the non-possessed people. Everybody else was just all about sex.
No, the stomach burster guy. He killed that old guy. The old guy.
He was trying to make him swallow the thing. I think. Oh yeah, but see that guy was a dick. That's what I'm saying. He was a dick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and it's a good point. Actually, you're right. I mean, it's a time where it's a threat to it's a threat to normal masculinity, which of course could very well be why these guys were acting like utter jerks. I mean, they've got to stay hip, so they're dyeing their hair blonde even though they're not touching their sideburns. That was just the weirdest. Also, by the way, I love the introduction to the Doctor because it's a murder. They're at a murder scene, and the Doctor, he's just introduced like leaning against a wall over on the side somewhere while they're like putting a blanket over. And he's just nonchalantly kind of leaning against the wall, hanging out there. And then finally, he just kind of slowly walks over to the cop. He's like, "Hey, I'm a doctor. How you doing? Yeah, I'm here to chat with you about this stuff. You called me up here." And it's like it was a very bizarre. It's a very bizarre introduction to the guy. And again, it totally probably budgetary, completely like didn't know how to get this guy into the scene, so we're just gonna have him chill against a wall until it's time for him to say something. Yeah, definitely not a 100% successful film, but I think I'm there with Shu. It's the last 15 minutes or so are pretty solid. Great, a fantastic looking car crash, and you've got the Barbara Steele sequence where she gets infected, quote unquote. Was pretty decent. Anything else anybody has to say about this flick? Anything? T?
I like the scene at the end, when he runs outside and all the people come up like out of the dark. That's actually I like that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. He's being chased around the. You think they're giant shrubs, but it ends up being little hill ramps that he runs up because they use a longer lens.
And some of those people got out there a little fast. He went from the room with the father and the daughter, and he gets downstairs and he runs, and then all of a sudden they're coming from over the hill. Like I recognize some of those. Like they only had so many actors, I guess. But,
yeah. Definitely on the lower budget side here. I'm kind of curious if it has the. I wonder how much they spent on this movie. 87 minutes feels longer.
It does. I checked the time many times.
Which is when the flying reach the underground car park, she has blood all over her hands and legs. Cars crashed. Blah blah blah. Within, they're not going to give me a budget right here. Okay, well, we should chat about Shivers / They Came From Within before we move on to other things.
Well, other than the double entendre of the AKA.
Silence. Total and complete silence.
Oh, I got it.
Ah, sweet. Usually I'm on the West Coast feed.
I don't get it still.
I'm right there with you. I'm sorry, no, explain this joke, Shu.
They came from within.
The AKA. No, the AKA. I see.
Right,
I see.
See
also
how.
known as.
Yeah, see how soft. Hey! I didn't.
I got
the title. I just noticed the coincidence. That's all I do.
Right. Fair. Got it. That's all I do. That's all I do. Just point shit out. That's my job.
Porn boobies. Cronenberg.
Full of 70s breasts.
Parasite. Oh, yes. It's just one of Tremendo's favorite things. Tremendo has a great theory about the evolution of the 70s breasts.
This I gotta hear.
How somehow evolution has changed so dramatically that chicks' racks are entirely different in a measly 30-year span. Somehow we have evolved from an evolutionary standpoint to where the rack is a totally different thing.
Well, they were conier back then.
Wait, you say coney or corny?
They're conier.
Conier.
It was style at the time, I'm told.
I want you one
military bra complex.
I want you. It was a different kind of. It was a Coney War, not a Cold War. I want you to go into some sort of scientific explanation one day as to why that is.
I'm pretty sure there weren't any bras in this movie.
Because that's a good point.
It was a pretty braless movie, right? Well, again, I think it's it's part of the whole breaking down
sexual revolution.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Which is and I kind of so Tremendo's now doing deep research into
research. I did it for research. Sorry.
And it could probably get grant funding.
A worm in my throat.
I also love as a complete aside how this movie isn't very good, but because it's about sex, we can academically break this SOB down probably for the next 3 or 4 hours.
We're
going to, but we're
not going to.
Good.
Yeah, that's true. It is one of those things where actually you can start looking at it as an education piece versus a critical analysis piece versus a actual good movie. I'll tell you what. Let's really quick here. So it's just kind of a clarification. 1 through 10. Give us some scores here. T.
Shivers. I'll give it a 6.
6. All right. Shu.
I give it 4.
4. Okay. For Warren.
Yeah, I'll probably go 5.
5. I'm pretty much right there with you. I think I'm dead center in the 5 range on it. Again, not great, not brilliant by any stretch of the imagination. Though at the time, I'm sure there's nothing else like it that you've seen in an odd way, or at least portrayed in this way, which would be from the mind of David Cronenberg. So that's Shivers. Next week, we're going to hold off on a movie. Unless, Shu, did you pick a movie for next week?
Oh, was that supposed to pick? Oh man,
no, I know. I didn't ask you to because I was actually going to say we should do a top 5 Halloween films. We should each pick our top 5 Halloween films and discuss them. And that means only the films of Halloween, so you can only choose between Halloween and Halloween 9.
5
and just your
films.
top 5. Yeah, that's all you got.
Wait, is this horror films or films that came out during Halloween?
No, horror films. I think you should.
Okay.
We'll pick our top 5 movies that we like. Or actually, if you really kind of want to go out on a limb, you can pick the 5 films you love to watch around the Halloween time. So if there happens to be some like weird, like I enjoy watching Love Actually during Halloween because I do. I don't. I'm just saying that I save that for Easter. Is that
Or an Arbor Day thing?
So yeah, it's definitely an Arbor Day movie. So yeah, if there's like your top 5 movies that you want to watch during the Halloween period, my guess is they'll mostly be horror films. So let's actually check in with T really quick. T, let's hear how's your horror movie a day coming? How are you still doing it? Have you made it so far?
Yes, still doing it. I'm at Shivers was 21.
Okay.
Sunday I watched Housebound, which is a New Zealander flick haunted house movie about a girl who is sentenced to, after she tries to commit a crime, she's caught trying to commit a crime, sentenced to house arrest in her mom's house, who she's estranged from, and they find out there's a ghost in the house, and it's really good. It's in the vein of a Shaun of the Dead, but there's a real good mystery at the bottom of it, and it's really well acted. It kind of shifts tones here and there, but overall it's a really solid little ghost flick.
Is it easy to find?
I saw it in a theater. No, sorry, I saw it on video on demand. So it is on. It's on. I saw it on Amazon, I think, but it should be on video and iTunes.
Sorry, so this is a brand new movie.
Yeah, I think it's gonna hit theaters, but I caught it on demand on Sunday. Let's see what else I see. I saw American Mary yesterday, which I thought was pretty solid.
How is that? Yeah.
It's good. It's really good. It's solid. It's visually really interesting. It's got some interesting ideas. Story is kind of predictable, but stylistically, it's the Soska sisters.
Yeah.
I've never. I don't know why. I'm not sure about the background, but they're a pair of twin sisters who make horror movies, and they make I guess they're doing a lot more stuff now. They're getting a lot of work out of this American Mary. It's about a girl she's a flunky. She flunks out of medical school. She's deeply in debt, so she starts doing underground body modification surgery, and then she gets mixed up with the mob and all this stuff. So it's pretty interesting. Not bad. Let's see, I saw Prom Night as well for the first time. I've never seen Prom Night before.
The old or the new?
The old one, the classic one. I'd never caught it.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time? You were breaking up there. You saw what?
Prom Night. The Jamie Lee Curtis, 1980?
Yeah.
In her heyday of being a scream queen. It's all right. It's kind of like a TV movie-ish. It's got a great sequence where Leslie Nielsen disco dances, and then his character just disappears. He's like a main character, and after the disco dance scene, you don't see him for the rest of the movie, and you think that he's the killer because they're trying to figure out who the killer is, but he never comes back. So yeah, Abrams Zucker must have called him back.
He was out. He had to get to the Day of the Animals set.
Taking his shirt off at Day of the Animals.
Yeah. If you're out there and if you've never seen Day of the Animals, folks, by the way, Day of the Animals is
solid,
brilliant in a bad way. Yeah.
The history of the guy who made that movie, he died in a helicopter accident shortly after the release of Day of the Animals, I think. But he did animal-themed horror films. He did Day of the Animals and he did Grizzly, and I'm not remembering the other one, but he did 3 70s animal horror movie.
I thought he also directed the, oh my god, I can't think of it. What was the Tony Curtis Exorcist style?
Manitou. He must have did. Yeah,
the Manitou.
And that's kind of animal related. It's got an animal.
The Manitou is fucking brilliant because it throws. It's the Manitou is the movie that basically, The Exorcist is a big hit. Let's do that. And they throw, and then all of a sudden, and I don't know if it came out before Star Wars or after Star Wars, but then it's like they took every movie that was big at that time and kind of tossed it all into a giant blender, and out come the most bizarre, weird fucking movie. Like, it's up there with like it's what the fuck film, but it actually, the plot makes sense. Yeah, the Manitou, which also had, and all of those movies had, I don't know the American Indian dude that was in all three of those, but there's the same guy, like his entire career.
George.
It wasn't Chief Dan George.
Dan George. It wasn't Dan.
That's
George?
not Dan. It wasn't Dan George. No. Dan George was Little Big Man and oh my God, Clint Eastwood, Josie Wales. But yeah, Manitou's. I would have put. I'd write that down actually on my top 5, but I'm already said it. Fuck.
Yeah. I'll try to watch before then. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen the Manitou?
Yet. Yeah.
Oh God, I swore we watched it.
I've seen parts. I think I saw the last tail end of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
The last movie that I recommend for if you think the zombie genre is dead, particularly the Nazi zombie genre, Dead Snow 2, which is
didn't you talk about that?
Quite possibly the craziest zombie movie I've seen. It's pretty fucked up.
The first one was pretty crazy.
And hilarious. Yeah. The first one was pretty good. Second was just completely bananas. It's really, really. I've never seen so many on-screen deaths of children. And played up for laughs. It's pretty messed up. It's the ending is classic, but it's kind of like these Nazi zombies are coming back. They have to fulfill their mission, and these guys are trying to stop them. So they resurrect the Red Army. There's like a graveyard of Red Army prisoners of war. So they resurrect these old Russian soldiers to fight against the Nazis, which I thought was pretty hilarious. But it's messed up. It's a really messed up Norwegian. I think I mentioned it last time actually. So,
yeah, I think we talked about it last week as well.
How available is it?
I saw that one on iTunes as well. So I don't think it's getting a very wide release, but it'll probably hit video soon.
Right, but it is there. So, and now before Shu, I want to have Shu give us his quick recap or review of Fury, the Brad Pitt movie. So go ahead, Shu.
Okay. Fury was largely disappointing. I think, was constantly conscious of believing that we had watched a lot of other war movies and knew what the general template was for it, but then went out of its way to try to tell you that it wasn't necessarily borrowing from those movies to try to set its own thing up. So it was kind of emotionally displaced to a large degree. It slogged to a large degree, which I think could be okay if its intent was sort of trying to set it up as tanks move slow, therefore war moves slow, everything moves slow. One of the things that jumped out at me, it sort of had a gratuitous, it wanted to consistently remind you how war is a horrible thing, right, even though you already know that going in. So it would go out of its way just to blow up another head, or just to run over another dead body, or to show a body part over here, but it wouldn't show it once, it'd show it 2 or 3 times. And then it would, it had some of these tropes as well, where I think it was gratuitous hopelessness. That's probably the term that I'm looking for. And it really kind of wanted to beat down, war is bad, this is tough, war is bad, sloggy, war is bad. But in the process of this, it became such a mechanical, it was almost like the film itself was as mechanical as the instrument that was ultimately the focal point, but the characters were just as mechanical as the tank, and therefore you couldn't really get connected to anybody who was involved. There is the key guy in the movie, the young guy who is sort of the innocent thrust into the last minute of war, has to make a change along the way because war is horror, is such a bad actor that making the movie, making something of the movie a focal point on him, it makes it a difficult thing to ultimately get through what's going on, and I think makes it kind of an inconsistent, disjoint mess, and ultimately a lot more of a disappointment than it should be. There's some stuff that looks really good. There are some battle scenes that look nice. There's a sequence that Santo can talk about a little bit more in the middle of the film that's supposed to be the heart of the movie, that to me I think almost works until it involves more characters. And I feel like it's really long and drawn out as well, and then it ultimately fails, and shortly after that scene there's a death sequence that absolutely doesn't matter, but it kind of just piles on as to how awful the whole process is. But in the end, I can't get really connected to anybody involved, and it just felt largely disjoint, uninteresting, and I wasn't really drawn into the concept that sometimes war is meaningless.
Yeah.
Yet, in the midst of trying to get that message across, I also felt like I was always watching a movie. I was never taken away from the separation of being an audience member just watching something, whereas many a war movie, like it or not, or many movies in general, you can suspend your disbelief enough to just let it go and enjoy it. But I always felt like, based on some of the choreography and some of the scenes, too, that I was always watching a movie and I knew that this was a set. So in many ways, the process, I was hoping it'd be a little bit better, and it missed on a lot of levels. And maybe Santo can explain some of the deficiencies a little bit better than I can, but I think it came up largely short for both of us.
Yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, I was really rooting for David Ayers that this would kind of be a big breakthrough movie for him, but it was not. It has a lot of inconsistencies from scene to scene, and yeah, Logan Lerman, who was the young new fresh recruit that she was talking about, is not a great actor. He's supposed to be the audience surrogate, and he doesn't work very well at that level. The scene in the middle that she was referring to is one of the few times that we actually get away from the tank. And it's supposed to kind of represent the even though we've all kind of become monsters through this entire process, let's try to find our humanity for a few minutes, and that almost works. But then but there's this strange thing with the Shia LaBeouf character that doesn't fit right within that segment either. Right. But the two women in it are excellent. I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff within that sequence, and it's a really long one. It's probably like what 12, 13 minutes. I mean, it's like a big scene.
It's very. You notice how lengthy it is.
Yeah, it's a big scene, and after a while, you're like, stay here for a while. Like it's almost its own one-act play. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so and it's kind of a shame because what I kept wanting from it. And what I guess what anybody would want is there are very few of these are good movies about tank crews. I was able to think of one other World War II movie that's really focused on a tank crew, and of course the movie Tank with James Garner. But it's a
there's another
yes. What's that?
There is another one, but I'll mention it when you guys are done.
There was the Beast, I think, is the one that was the one I came up with. Yeah, with Jason Patrick directed by Kevin Reynolds.
George Costanza and the guy who the guy was in Scarface, wasn't it?
Yeah, Stephen Bauer. Yeah, Stephen Bauer, Jason Patrick, and George Costanza. Directed by Kevin Reynolds. But so what I was really hoping for, and there are great little bits within it, but the film itself just is not, it doesn't together, and there's a lot of mishmash stuff which I thought came off really weird, and I'm not sure why they went that way. But I was disappointed. It's a movie that I walked out of really wanting to try to convince myself that I liked because I really wanted to like it, and it didn't fly.
It had a lot of pieces where it should have been good, but it just kind of and I'm trying to remember exactly. There's a moment about 20 or 30 minutes into the film where Brad Pitt starts grabs the learner character and forces him to make a very difficult decision about whether he's going to kill a prisoner of war or not. Of war or not. Okay, this is the horror of, if you haven't been beaten over the head that war is terrible by this point, this is the character turning point in the film. Yeah. When that scene didn't work, yeah, it was a real red flag that this movie may be in trouble. Yeah. And it kind of became very mechanical from a character standpoint, therefore an interest standpoint, and there were a lot of things that didn't necessarily. It was sort of strategically kind of going along the way, but it also, in its action scenes, didn't have, and Santo, you mentioned this, so maybe, feel free to elaborate. There was a scene specifically where there's kind of a one-on-3 tank battle that eventually becomes a one-on-1 tank battle. And that scene's really pretty interesting because it's this big field and they have to work around each other, and one has to get in front of the other to try to avoid the stronger machine, and they know that the other one needs to try to get behind them, so they try to avoid getting them behind them. It has good tension, and it's laid out very well, and it sort of separated itself from the rest of the film because the other stuff, while well filmed, doesn't have the same kind of impact that moment does, and the rest of it just kind of drags along and is sort of mechanical enough to where there's really no emotional connection ultimately.
Yeah, no, it's a lackluster movie. It falls very short. So Warren, did you see anything that you want to chat about?
No, I didn't see anything. I've been trying to catch up on my TV shows.
Right, you've been watching too much baseball, sir.
I've been watching. There's a lot of great baseball on right now.
Catch a shoe.
Yeah, poor sad shoe. There he is. That's a defeated Cardinal right there.
Aw.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys haven't been there like 3 years in a row.
Oh, it's like you weren't about to win 3 in the last 5 years. Nobody would. If you aren't the Yankees with a $250 million payroll, nobody wins 3 World Series in the last 5 years. It's actually a really impressive accomplishment. And I even like the Giants. I actually do. There's a lot to be, but I'm relaxed.
It happens. So that's it for this week, folks. Best of luck to the Giants. Sorry, Cardinals. Are they out? Is that how that works now? I don't know.
Yes, that's how that works.
That's how it works.
Next week we'll be looking. That's how it works. You'll lose in your gout. Okay, good. Good to know. Do they have like a losers cup somewhere? The Sacco. So next week we're going to be doing we're each going to be presenting our top 5 horror movies, Halloween films, something of that ilk, and we will hopefully we'll be able to present some stuff for the nobody who watches this to rent and watch on Halloween. So we will see you next week. So Shu, go ahead and T, people can find you at.
I'm at El Tremendo on Twitter. Every Wednesday morning I get 3 or 4 followers, so someone's watching this thing.
Sweet.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah, it's got to be from something else because nobody else is in this. Shu, you can be found.
You can find me at
Shuniverse.
Yes, and sad Cardinal fan.
Sad Cardinal fan, Warren.
At Warren Graff or Go Giants.
Nice. Wow. And you can find me at John Santo. Shu, go ahead and take us out. And we will see you next week.